Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. What is going on, Chip? What's going on, everybody out there and On the Chain fantasy land? We're talking about crypto. We're talking about politics. And guess what? XRP politics and crypto is the ultimate power struggle being exposed. I think it is. Chip might think it is. I don't know. You guys might think it is, but there is a power struggle. And you know what's always happening is that crypto, finance, and politics are always intersecting, whether you want it or you don't. Chip, I saw an X post earlier that said they don't like the politics in the crypto and there's no place for politics in crypto. They just don't get it. We're going to dig into that. There was some commentary from Charles Hoskinson and from Chris Larson and from Elon Musk and from all these other political talking heads out there, whether good or bad. And we got to dig in and find out what they're doing to help protect our freedoms and our interest in this innovative asset class.
And we also had Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz at Tokyo XRP Day. And we've got some exclusive video, courtesy of Minus Wells. We've got some exclusive video for that. We'll play some of that. Can't play the whole David Schwartz one, but it's a long time. But there's a lot going on, Jeff, and we got to try to get it in. We got a long way to go and a short time to get there. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Ready? Let's go. Let's go. Hey, what do you want to hear today? You want to hear a heart open? You want to hear the hey, hey, hey?
Heart open. Oh, yeah. Let's go.
Let's hear hey, 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 hey. Hey, hey, we're dropping. Speaking of hey, hey, come on, drop where you're coming in from today. I want to hear where you're coming in from. Look at this. Alchemist is back. Says, I can't tell you how wonderful it is to not have heard a word of the clown show election. 2 more months and it'll be over. I still have not heard anything. Ignorance is at times bliss. It is always bliss. Ignorance is always bliss.
Always.
It is always bliss, no matter where you are. Land of 1,000 smiles in Thailand.
Thailand. What's up, Alchemist over in Thailand?
Yeah. While we were waiting, the Holy Roman Empire was neither holy or Roman. Discuss. That's dropping all kinds of things in here. We got Crypto G there. Saturday morning cartoon time with Chip and Jeff. I love it.
That's right.
Let's roll, Mr. Bullish K out of it's good morning to you. It's good night.
Yeah, it's 10 p.m. over in Australia.
Over there in Australia, that's right.
That's why Matt LaRoche is coming to us from the bedroom.
From the bedroom, yeah. Sleepy time. Yeah, Matt, I think you played some golf today, man. I saw that golf looked pretty like a nice golf course. He was, you know what he told me? So he was going to go up there into that pub, right, stop in at the pub, have a pint.
Our pub.
I hope you lifted one in our honor, man.
Man,
I hope you lifted one in our honor
for sure.
We'll be back there next year. We stayed on our porch watching the greenskeepers do their thing. Isn't that nice of you? While you're sitting there sipping some coffee, watching the greenskeepers doing their thing. Beautiful. Well, let's dig into this. There's
Chad. What is up, Chad? Look at that.
New member. Look at there you go, right there.
Member Chad. What's up, Chad?
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's a way you can support the channel. You just become a member. It's cool. You get a little badge on it too. It's just a nice way to support the channel. You know, it says like, hey, I like what you guys are doing. And if you don't like it, still become a member because you can tell us you don't like it too. So it's all good.
The Yeti family.
The Yeti family. Yeah, the Yeti family's doing well. We're working on some things. It's just like, boy, this regulatory environment has been a little bit
regulatory, the utility, the low engagement for XRPL NFTs, super low engagement. And then as we're building out the Yetis, all of a sudden we stumbled onto this other project with a lot of passion, developed this whole thing called the Badass Chimps. And, we've been working on trying to get that listed and shipped. That's been a struggle.
A massive struggle.
We've been trying new chains. And man, oh man, it's not
massive struggle.
The complexity, but it's really more the cost of trying to get a project up on Ordinals or Solana. And so navigating, figuring that part out, that's consumed a lot of the time. So it's exciting though to see, eventually cross-chain excitement. So greening celebration.
What's up, guys? Been a while. This year is the year. Go Bills. I'm not feeling the Bills this year, man. I hate to be a naysayer, but I'm just not feeling it. But I want to feel it. I really do. I thought last year was going to be a really good shot. I don't know. It's going to take a while before the boys gel. That's what I'm thinking. One Eye says, hey, most important dates this year, September 10th, October 7th, and November 5th. Okay.
There you go. That's true.
Yeah, there you have it. They're all
September
important.
10th is an upcoming debate. November 5th is election.
That's right.
That's going to be the change of the course of global history. Just remember that.
Well, I saw that Newsom, and we'll get into this a little later after we get to let's talk about this later, but I wanted to talk about something Newsom did that was not surprising, which might have been more telling than anything. But let's watch this. So, courtesy of Minus Wells over there on X, he was at the Tokyo, I think they were calling it XRP Community Day, and this is Brad Garlinghouse taking the stage.
Great to be here in Tokyo. It's great to have a full house. We have been on the road this week, but it's certainly been an exciting week. It really is an honor to be here. So many of the people in this room are what makes the heart and soul of the XRP community. We've got developers, we have holders, we have those who are passionate about the regulation. But more than anything, this community has been one of the largest and longest standing of the entire globe in terms of leaning into the XRP ledger and XRP more broadly. So we wouldn't be here without you. The XRP ledger wouldn't be the same without all of you. So thank you very, very much. So I'm going to be handing over the microphone in a minute or two to a man who certainly needs no introduction, David Schwartz, which I'm excited to hear what he is going to share with you. We're also going to hear from key executives from SBI. And SBI, as I think many of you know, has been one of the longest standing supporters here in Japan of Ripple and certainly what's going on in the XRP community. We're going to hear from Kirin Labs, as well as a number of other key developers, kind of long-term advocates. So super excited that everyone is here together and we can learn from each other. And certainly, I'm sure that I'm going to learn something. All of you truly have been instrumental to where we have gotten today, and your work has not gone unnoticed by me and I think many of the people in this room. Later on today, Monica Long, the president of Ripple, and Eric Van Miltenberg, senior vice president at Ripple, we will take the stage and do kind of a fireside chat and talk about some of the history of Ripple and how we got here. All right. With that, I am going to step off the stage. The show does go on. I'm looking forward to being back up here later on. And again, thank you so much. Thank you, Tokyo. Thank you for all you have done for the XRP Ledger.
Thank you very much.
There you have it. Nice intro.
Man, you know what's great about Brad? His demeanor.
He's good.
You know, I like his voice. I like the way he presents things. It just really, you know, kind of a smooth, easy
operator.
To listen to. Yeah, operator, you know, presenting the opening, you know, all of that. So interesting.
Very different from David Schwartz. But one of the things that I heard is I heard from a little birdie that he gave a shout out to Wave of Innovation. That was that might have happened in the panel talk, which is great, and that's what Jeff and I were at in Australia, that we had the honor of co-emceeing. And we'll be back next year. They're going to make an announcement. You heard it here the other night. We had on, you know, Crypto Eddie, we had Moonchaser, and then Ali G was the one who's part of that wave of innovation. I always want to say wave of innovation.
A
world of the wave of innovation. And we couldn't get it out of her. She was like, it's coming. And Matt LaRoche, who's there too. Yeah, see, so there you go. Yes, he did. He did mention that. And so Matt LaRoche is also part of that team and been super instrumental at bringing probably one of the most outstanding conferences. I mean, it really, as far as the lineup was concerned, Jeff, it was incredible.
It was incredible, of course, because we emceed it. No,
well, that's part of it, Jeff. No,
that was a part of it. You know, no,
we had nothing to do with it, really. We just showed up and read some lines.
Just did our thing. Those guys did such an outstanding job. So as they announce, whenever the 2025, it's TBD, location, date, all of that. They're holding it a deep held secret for right now. Maybe someone can grab Matt and we can hold him down until he gives us the details on it. But it is going to be outstanding. So if you guys didn't go last year, definitely try to get out there wherever it might be and go this year. They did such a phenomenal job pulling it together for their first conference. It was from a an overall aesthetic experience. The stage was amazing. They didn't spare an expense in terms of, visuals. They had a great AV guys.
Even the
They had
food,
so
Jeff, was
much the
incredible.
food. Thank you to Matt
Matt
for
was in
picking
charge of
out the
that.
food. He was in charge of the food. At one of the biggest complaints when you go to conferences is food. And sometimes they give you, you'll go around, they have little sandwiches that might be dry and boring or whatever it might
It's
be.
gruel.
Or it's right. They just want to feed the people. Their snacks were like the appetizers at a 5-star restaurant, and it was just from start to finish was great. The one thing that I would complain about was the espresso. I would like to have a nice espresso. Oh, wait, no, there was an espresso bar there, and it was sponsored by one of the
Yeah, it was
um,
Futureverse that was
that was
sponsoring it.
Futureverse. That's right. Futureverse sponsored the espresso bar.
Oh,
So
man.
there was everything there. There was nothing that was missing in terms of food
Except the
and
Badass Yeti's coffee
drink.
was, and we tried really hard. It's just with
Yeah,
customs,
it
it wasn't going to
wouldn't.
make even over a month out. We couldn't get
Mhm.
it there in time, and if we brought it, they said that there's a likelihood that they would confiscate it. Like Australia's really cracked down on coffee beans.
Yeah,
It's really, you got to be careful with those beans entering the country.
yeah.
So that was part of an issue.
And that's what I like about these conferences. We got to meet great people that, we see on the streams
Yeah,
all
finally
the
connected with
time, like Polish
Mr.
Mr.
K
K,
after how many
and
years? My God, it was
look at that.
fantastic.
If you feed them, they will come. That is
Well,
true.
they did feed him. Yeah. MetaMan just got blocked. He's the latest in getting blocked. Seems like everyone's blocking everybody. Everyone's like sticks and stones. You hurt my feelings. It's like, dude, coming at
Chip,
me. I
I'm
don't block
blocking you.
anybody. I don't care
I'm
who you
blocking you,
are.
Chip. I'm blocking
Nobody.
you right
I
now.
don't block anyone, man. I'm not a blocker. I believe in free speech. Look, if you're gonna threaten me, if you're gonna like do things that are harmful to my family, yeah, you're getting blocked.
We saw a bunch of bin chickens.
Oh hell yeah, bin
That was
chickens.
something new for us to learn what a
Well, that
bin
was
chicken
something
was.
that we that was the one animal we got to see, the bin chickens.
The only one they have in Australia. That's why.
The bin chickens. That's
All
still
these other
yeah. One of the
stories.
guys, Tommy, we were with. His new nickname became Bin Chicken the rest of the time through. So that was a lot of fun. He became the Bin Chicken.
He became a bin chicken.
Let's play this David Schwartz bit. It's a long one, but let's just hear a little bit of this. I want to hear. And again, I saw all the pictures. Looked like a phenomenal. I saw so many cool photos, and it looked like really such an engaged audience. And really, Tokyo. If you think about Japan, South Korea, that whole APEC region, Australia, just really big leaders in the space, especially Australia with what they've done to advance sort of regulation. Brad, you heard him talk a little bit about regulation. He goes, there's all kinds of people in the room. There's holders, there's builders, and there's people that are passionate about regulation, right?
Yep.
And it's true because guess what? Japan has regulation. Australia has regulation. South Korea,
Clarity.
I mean, when we heard 7 out of 10 people know what XRP is or hold it in South Korea, we're like, okay, they're playing a different game over there, right? There's my obligatory supportive comment.
I'll tell you, it's South Korea definitely ahead of the curve on technology. When I was there in Seoul and we traveled around, I went to the electronics market in Seoul. They have like a 6-story building, maybe 4 or 5 stories.
I would never get out of there alive, Jeff.
You
How do
go
not
in there
buy a
and they
ton of
have
stuff in there?
every store, every level was something else, and you're walking around. I'm like, this is unbelievable.
you
And
drop a lot
all
of
the
money?
small stores outside of it also were like little electronic stores, and that was just in Seoul, the electronics market. Plus, they had a seafood market, which was bigger than Costco, with every type of live seafood you could imagine, and some stuff you wouldn't want to imagine. And that was unbelievable too. So you see like all sides, going through like fruit markets where, the vendors are sitting on the ground selling fruit and things like that. And then you go into an electronics market and you see some of the technology they have rolled out. And I can remember even in Japan, how far ahead, if I think back, it was probably like 1991,
66.
19,
No.
it was back in 66. No, it was like 1991-ish, something like that. I was in college, and I remember
They had
there
iPhones
was
back then, I think.
they were
No.
rolling around with all sorts of technology. They had the handheld scanner. I used one later in grad school, but you would scan the document. It was a handheld scanner, and you could scan things. But she, so this girl that I met, she was from Japan, didn't speak English, had a scanner, and she was scanning stuff and was translating it into Japanese. And that was back in like the early 90s. And it was
That's
like
what
the
I-
little pen scanner. And I had one later on, and you could scan stuff and you could take the scanned item and then be download it onto your computer back in the day. But
Look at
that's
this.
how far ahead they were. It was amazing.
The street
Really
vendors
amazing.
in
Yeah.
in Thailand have these QR codes, so you just do all your mobile. You have your mobile banking app, you scan it, and it's really convenient.
impressive.
Unfortunately, we have Square over here, which is pretty
Wah, wah,
Square.
wah.
Womp, womp, womp. It's like it's so funny because sometimes I'll go to these today. Like in the little town I'm in, like they have like a little sort of get together, like it's like a farmer's market type of thing. And it's so
Mhm.
surprising that like some of them have the tap thing with the card, but some of them have it where you had to put the card in, and it's like I'm like, dude, what? Like it should be the scanning, and then a lot of them have just Venmo, so you just click it, and
Mhm.
it's easy to transact. But if you're a small business and you're a vendor, you really need to make it easy for people to be able to do that. Money GC says,
It's not.
yeah,
I
well,
mean-
Ithaca Holdings in South Korea, they own all the Scooters Braun catalog except Taylor Swift. They're involved in Futureverse, so it makes sense that XRP would be used there if you follow the money. Interesting. Look at always connecting the dots there, money. Always connected the
awesome.
dots. Yeah.
That is
Well,
awesome.
Scooter Braun, yeah, that whole shakedown with Taylor Swift. Yeah. I mean, well, if you think about it too. But what I like about Futureverse, though, Futureverse is doing the right thing by licensing. And
Mhm.
so if you're like, especially like Jen, if you the music part of it, it's all licensed. So what the large language model is learning off of is licensed music. It's all authorized. Where now a lot of these other ones, some of the other ones that Jeff have used are in lawsuits right now because they haven't licensed the music. So ethically training your AI and your LLMs, I think that's a very key thing, and it's one of the things that Futureverse is doing right.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. And look, I mean, if you're gonna do it right out of the gate. And so licensing the music is the right way, and then you own the copyright to it. So if you create a fresh piece of music, especially like if you're a content creator, you can create some cool beds of music, and yeah, you don't have to worry about. That's one of the hardest things. Sometimes you're trying to find the right type of music, and you just can go in there and type it in with the prompt. The next thing you know, you have your song. It's pretty cool.
Right. There you
Pretty
go.
cool.
And we
Let's listen
might
to
even
David.
have one to introduce today. Kind of cool.
Let's listen to Mr. Schwartz. Yeah, we got a song coming up. We have a banger coming up, Jeff.
Repo and co-creator.
Now, one of the things I have to do in the future, if I had a little more time, is I've got to de-echo. I can de-echo this stuff. I got to take it into an audio program, export the audio, put it in there, reassemble it. And you hear perfect audio. And it's like, you think that it would be an easier way to do this?
You would think on recording.
Yeah, Adobe has a program that has a echo sort of a thing, and it just loses all the echo in there. It's fantastic. I got to do that to John Deaton speed so we can chop up pieces of it.
That'd be good.
So the AI would automatically take down copyright infringements. Yeah, well, it does it here, man. Believe it or not. Like we play things that should be fair use, what they call fair use. In other words, you're not trying to profit off it. You're trying to talk about it. If you guys have seen all of these music channels, like I follow a lot of these creators that react to music. There's this couple that I follow. They grew up on like R&B and rap. So they don't know anything about rock music. They don't know anything about, grunge, any of that stuff. So they listen to it and they're into it. And then there's somebody that I follow too. Now they have a special category of reacting because they used to get, and they have to get permission. And sometimes they'll make a video and it takes 3-4 weeks to get permission to actually show the video. Right. But here we play a snippet, just a snippet of something like 6 seconds.
It happens in the background. Boom, right away.
Everything demonetized, our whole damn thing.
Basically, you end up paying to use the copyright. So they'll take the funds. Sometimes they split the funds. Sometimes they just take it. That's why we've been considering just demonetizing this channel.
There it is.
And
that's called Audition. That's that's it right there. Crypto G's in the know. Yeah. And if Crypto G, if you know an easier way to do that, like a more like import it and then save as type of thing, like you take the whole video and everything, I'd love to know about it. But Audition's what I've been using to do that. So if you know something, yeah. And on the copyright side of the things, it's interesting that with AI, anything generated, right? It's trained on stuff, it's creating stuff, but that whole thing of copyright, it's been in the courts. There has been some small wins, but even on the image generation and video, the video is getting to be so incredibly amazing that you'll be able to make short films off of it just by character creation and and the lore and all this stuff that you're able to do is getting a lot better. Especially the hardest thing in AI is to do anything is to have that character consistency. That's a challenge, and we're getting closer to doing that. Yeah, we're getting closer, but it's just we're not 100% there yet.
XRP ledger.
Sometimes when I hear David, by the way, I just want to share a little story. So, I woke up this morning going like, wow, that was weird. I had this weird dream about Brad Garlinghouse. Like, Jeff, you and I were at like Swell event or something, and we were like talking to people and laughing. And I turned around, and there's Brad Garlinghouse. I'm like, hey, look, it's Brad. How about a quick picture? And he goes, no way. I go, what do you mean? He goes, you should just delete your podcast. He was like walking in this room. I go, delete the podcast. He goes, yeah, just delete it. It sucks. And he closed the door.
Great.
What?
Thanks, Brad.
I was like, okay, well, there you go. I go, so you say you're not coming on?
Was that Swell Miami, the one that we haven't been invited to?
The one we haven't been accepted to. We're not accepted at any of these places, Jeff.
On.
But there you go. That's what you have.
Thank you. That is 100% of the Japanese I know. One word. It's so great to be here. Thanks to all of you for coming. I love Tokyo. The weather, maybe not so much. It always seems like I'm here when it's really hot. But I heard you guys had some crazy rain, so glad I missed that. But the food and the people, always amazing. And this community is just, it is unmatched anywhere else in the world. So it's just such a pleasure to be here. I'm sure most of you know who I am. I'm David Schwartz, CTO at Ripple, co-creator of the XRP ledger. Let's just get right into it and let's talk about what's next for DeFi on the XRP ledger. So I want to put a couple of stats up on the screen here, and I'll show them in both Japanese and English. But the one that I really want to call your attention to is that second stat about 97% of institutional investors believing in tokenization. You know, in any space, the people who are in that space believe in it. If you're working in AI, you believe AI is going to change the world. Maybe not necessarily for good, but you're excited about it, right? People inside a space.
You see how you got to dig an AI in there? Dude, AI is going to replace you as CTO, so don't worry about that.
It's going to replace everybody. You're going to love it.
I know it's a casual sort of event, but you know what, man? Just make it look like you put a little effort into it. I mean, you know,
a little something extra.
Just 2 sets of clothes. Like he might only have 2 sets of clothes. Like, you know, it's weird. And that whole t-shirt with the shirt over top of it thing. I don't know, man. It's like, I get it's casual. It's like cool and stuff, but AI will replace us all. That's for sure. It will.
We're pretty close to that.
But don't worry, I'll be long gone before that happens.
El Jefe, we're going to talk about that too. But El Jefe had the same nightmare that we had, and that was Chris Larson supporting Kamala Harris.
Well, so
we're going to talk about that.
That was expected. There's no one shocked.
They're always excited about it. They always believe it's important and it's going to do big things. But when you know that it's real is when people outside the space feel the same way. Institutional investors are not blockchain people, right? They're not tech people. In a recent survey, 97% of institutional investors said they believe that tokenization is going to happen. And I think that's very telling that institutional DeFi is inevitable. If you look at some of these other stats, the growth of stablecoins are institutional DeFi products. If you look at the companies that launch stablecoins, Tether, Circle, soon Ripple, they're institutions, right? And most of us will never do business with them. If you hold USDC or Tether, you probably didn't do business with Tether or Circle, right? You got it from an exchange, or you got it from a DeFi exchange. These are products that are heavily regulated, that are enabling totally unregulated DeFi ecosystems. And that's the direction that we think that the future is going to go, at least over the next year or two, with things like real-world assets. So how's the XRP ledger going to be involved in that? Well, the trick is to make the XRP ledger the preferred blockchain for institutional-grade DeFi and real-world asset tokenization. And for that, you need 4 things. Number 1, you need the right primitives. You need primitives that match these real-world use cases. You need tools that are built to match the actual problems that people have. You need a compliance infrastructure. If every company has to build their own compliance, well, big companies like Ripple will be able to operate on the ledger, but smaller companies won't. Individuals don't have compliance requirements generally, but institutions do. And lastly, there needs to be a solid developer experience. There needs to be an ecosystem of tools that developers can use in order to build. What you see on the slide here are some of the things that Ripple's been building and the XRP Ledger community has been building to provide these institutional DeFi capabilities. The automated market maker. I will go into more detail about all of these things later, but I just wanted to briefly summarize them to kind of give you the high-level roadmap. So you have the automated market maker, you have the lending protocol, which brings real institutional lending. You have decentralized identity, which solves that problem of smaller companies being able to come onto the ledger. Oracles to bring real-world pricing data. Multi-purpose tokens to increase the token support of the XRP ledger, and various different types of smart contract programmability. So first, I'm going to talk about the automated market maker, which is live on the XRP ledger right now. This is an automated market maker that trades assets and provides liquidity at all times. And it integrates tightly into the order book that the XRP ledger has. We call this aggregate the super DEX. And what that means is that trades on the XRP ledger can rebalance AMMs, and AMMs can provide liquidity to satisfy both trade offers and payments. This is a very unique feature of the XRP ledger is AMM implementation, and there are several other unique features that are worth calling out. One of them is the continuous auction mechanism, which reduces impermanent loss. This is a fairly clever feature that reduces the losses due to arbitrage. If you're a token holder in the automated market maker, you hold a sort of share of the automated market maker's yield. Arbitrageurs will trade against the automated market maker when prices change and take some of the yield away. What this continuous auction mechanism does is it enables people to bid for the right to sort of be the first one to arbitrage. And if they pay, and so some of the money that would normally be made by arbitrageurs and be losses to the pool, part of impermanent loss, instead is yield from the auction mechanism. So forthcoming is the lending protocol. This is a true institutional DeFi feature. This is institutional lending. These are like mortgages or commercial loans. They're not over collateralized like DeFi loans. These are traditional loans. And they're enforced off ledger, so that means that the credit check, if the payments aren't made, there might be litigation. That all happens off ledger, but the funding all happens on ledger. So that means that if you're interested in funding a loan, you could pay into one of these lending pools, and as payments are made on the loan, you could receive money automatically from the ledger as those payments are made. And you could also use the loans as collateral. You could use your share of the payments as a form of payment. So it would be very liquid for the holders of these loan pools.
Hey, Chip, just to kind of put a break in here, what are your thoughts so far? You know, what he's talking about, the direction, the rollout between the AMM with the market maker and this lending.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not that. I'll be honest with you. I'm not that excited about it. I mean, maybe a lot of people are. I think I'm more excited about the tokenization piece of it. I think that that's probably the component that is the most exciting, especially when you think of the potential size and what do you tie that back to? And you think of them rolling out their stable coin, they will have their own place. I mean, it's going to be someone like a Circular Tether is already out there, been out there for a while. What I always feel like Ripple's always a little bit behind. It took them 3 years to roll out the NFTs. So they're talking about, he's talking earlier about the future, about what they see of things that have already happened, right? So things that have already happened and gone past. Kind of reminds me of Apple in some ways. Apple is never first to market with that, but they usually perfect it. They're the opposite of that. They are later to market, but they haven't built a better mousetrap, right? So they come later with an older sort of a perspective. So I almost feel like that's a little bit weird to this is a good money's. Let's move this for a second. You don't have to wear a suit to look proper. Aaron McDonald's a great representative, looking cool, fresh, and clean. That's absolutely true. Like when we saw Aaron on stage, over at Weaponization, he just got this cool look. He's always got like cool shoes on, nice, but again, he's not dressed up. I mean, even wearing the T-shirt, the Futureverse shirt, just looks cool, right? He's put together, and that's a really good That's a very proper, and also too, he was in South Korea as well, and I saw him picture him with him and Brad Garlinghouse, and he just looks current, right? Looks
Right.
like he just woke up on the side of some alleyway somewhere,
Even the here,
Interoperability
before you
is
put that up, hang on.
absolute.
So before we get into there, so here's the question that I had for you though. When we get into the lending and all of that, do we really need, and I could see where it could definitely benefit, especially if you want to sell the loan or engage with the loan. But when you have sites like this, companies like this that have been around for years and years that are already doing that, right? And you have real estate loans where you can go and invest marginal shares, fractional shares in real
Wasn't that
estate,
Larson's old company?
commercial. I believe so.
I think
Believe
Larson
this
used to
was,
be there.
yeah, I think so. We'll have to just double check, but I believe that's where he was there. But Prosper, been around a long time, is uh, available throughout the U.S. They had some struggle in the beginning, overcoming some regulatory issues. But here you have personal loans, credit card, home equity, investment IRAs. You can do so much. You can invest across the board. You can do high risk credit down to safe credit. So you can do A, B, C, D investments. You can have it. You can have your money reinvested, continually reinvested in the Prosper. So you're constantly building a nest egg, within Prosper, and it's automated. And do you have to recreate this? And if you do recreate it, it can't be the exact same thing. It has to be significantly, uh, better from a perspective that there has to be more utility to it. And so if you have this site and there's many others out there, and you're like you said, are they innovating something that is extremely unique? Is it faster? Is it more efficient? The one issue that I always had within Prosper, in the beginning, you couldn't sell your loans. So if you invested and you're holding people's loans, now you can actually put those on market and sell the loans to get out of it. Yeah. So it becomes, kind of like an exchange of sorts. It'd be simplified if it's built on the XRPL. So if you take that, it could be more efficient, maybe faster, maybe take out some of the middleman part of it to create more automation. But I'm sure there's already huge amounts of automation built into it already, because otherwise it wouldn't exist, right? So where's the benefit of the blockchain, come in when you have technologies? Maybe they're a bit, technology heavy. Again, from a cost perspective too, if you want to streamline it, maybe it's cheaper to do transactions across the ledger. But then are they really building something new then, when really Prosper just has to move technology? They have to start building in and start expanding into the XRPL. Then you don't need what they're doing. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I'm just trying to figure that part out. Where is the full utility and the benefit?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, the thing was, you remember that it was a couple months or two ago that where David Schwartz came out and basically admitted to failing at cross-border payments, saying they didn't get the traction. They didn't quite get what they thought they were going to get out of it. So, I mean, they're trying to pivot, right? They're trying to find a use case. Really, I think tokenization is going to be a good one. But the reason for the stable coin is the fact that it's pretty obvious if you have over here that the institutions weren't adopting it, you had lawsuit, you could say all that stuff. But the US is only a small part of what really happens in the world. And if you look at the APEC region, where a lot of innovation has been going on, an institution doesn't want to take a chance on something that could be volatile, even if it takes 6 seconds in transacting, because if you're moving $10 million, that little bit could be a bigger piece. And so having that stable coin is what we're really going to want to move ultimately, if you think about it, right? So they, people, and if you think about like the stable coin, where's XRP in the equation? If the ledger can take anything, any digital token, and transact to any fiat, okay, so what's the XRP token going to do? Nothing, right? So it's having this. That's going to be your main sort of, and they've got the money to back it up. They've got enough to tie it and back it up. They've got that massive escrow sitting there, because that's the other thing where people are a little bit, I have all the audits with Tether. Circle's a well-run organization. Money, GCC was just saying too that Ripple's just chasing Circle's ball, and in a lot of ways they are. It's like, again, late to the game. And the whole idea of having a smart contract is so that you can do things But when I look at all these other developers that just busted ass to do stuff, especially Weeds Wins team, and you know, and I look at Scott Chamberlain and what he's done, you know, like trying to make up for what it doesn't exist. And then Ripple's like, well, we're going to come in and we're going to have it. But if you really reread that blog, it says, yeah, we like to have it. We're rolling it out. This is going to happen. And here we are. We heard about the stablecoin. We're into September. When are they going to roll it out? October, November? Like what's taking them so long to roll out the stablecoin? And why don't we know more about the stablecoin? Not that they have to release it, but if you're going to announce it so early, it's like, you know, this is what happens. This Apple does this. June comes around. They have the big developers conference, and we have this feature. And it's like, okay, am I going to buy a new phone for that? And we have this feature. And it's like, okay, am I going to drop another $1,400 on a phone? And then we have this feature. I'm like, great, Android's had that for 3 years. Okay, so what am I going to buy what am I going to buy the phone for if you're not really bringing innovation? When you got a guy like Tim Cook at the helm, you have a race to the bottom, because that guy is not doing Apple any favors, right? When you get rid of Johnny Ive, the greatest designer of the last century and this century, you get rid of that guy, you're a race to the bottom. And there's been zero innovation really since Steve Jobs left that organization. But they announced it in June, right, Jeff, and then September goes around, and now you can order it. And October, and now you can order it. Okay,
they're masters of the hype.
You
know, but from your perspective, you know, what do you want out of your technology?
Why don't they lead with it, Jeff? Why don't they put something like
lead with it?
Why don't, if they're going to do something in DeFi, put together an arbitrage, something that's AI generated, something that can make people money, even little bits and pieces here and there, right? That can actually, if you're using a decentralized exchange, you're the first one with the DEX, why can't you make an arbitrage bot that can run, you pay a certain fee for it, and it runs in the background, and it's taking your stuff and it's making the differential stuff, you know, on different exchanges. Like come up with something. Maybe that's not the best idea, but the idea is like, hey, AI is big. You're like, AI is gonna. You can say what you want about it, but if you are not an organization that's going to leverage AI, you are going to die. Yeah. That's the bottom line. You won't be able to keep up. You won't be able to personalize. You won't be able to. You can't do it with rule sets anymore. You know, if you're selling something online, you have to use AI and machine learning. You cannot survive without it. And this company, everybody's going to have it before they have it. Look at Coinbase. They did a trade with 2 AI bots, and everyone's like, I don't get it. What you don't get is that a lot can be automated, and there's going to be innovation. Ripple's not leading on the innovation side, and that's the sad piece of it. I hate to say it. It's just they're not innovators. They were,
right?
But
they
they're
were
not anymore.
They have to decide who they are and what they're doing. And I think we're starting to see, you know, they have a lot of great ideas. They're not, like you said, they're not pulling it together. If they want to be an Apple of the world, then they have to do something that is real world use case and roll it out. One of the things that they talk about, you know, if they're going to do that whole cross-border transaction thing, you know, they've built the technology, the back end, but now build the front end. Do something with some impressive UI, create an app, you know, for a movement of money, invest in something, create a spinoff and say, hey, this is going to be a spinoff. They invest. The crazy thing is that over the years, you know, they've been lost a little bit in terms of, from a marketing perspective, an identification perspective, a branding perspective. You know, we saw them, you know, change names of product, and, you know, sometimes it hit really nice. Like even, you know, when they had the on-demand liquidity, it's like, okay, I get it. But then, you know, now it's got to be rebranded. They keep rebranding up. I don't get that part of it, why they keep continuously rebranding. I know it didn't work.
It didn't work. That's why.
But figure something out. You can't just give it a new name to make it. Maybe it's the technology. Maybe people aren't ready for it. Maybe you need to create an app. Maybe you need to create the solution. Maybe you need to step outside of institution. But if you're an institution-driven company, focus all your time and effort on the institutions. And then if you're going to pivot to business. You know, business from a B2B perspective is broken in terms of moving money. It was broken years ago. It's still broken today. Still difficult to move money because it's expensive. If you're going to fix something, you know, work on fixing that solution. I don't get it. I honestly don't go to retail. Retail is an extremely difficult space to be in. B2B is not easy,
Competitive as hell
but
too.
it's super competitive. People don't need you. I don't need anything with movement of money unless I'm sending money to family overseas. That's where, they would need it because it's really expensive to move money. But you know what? You know who's working on that? XLM. That's XLM's pet project. Let them work on it. Ripple, don't work on that. That's not your business. That's not where you should be. Focus on what you know, which is movement of money within institutions. You have that leverage. You have that experience. If you're going to pivot to B2B and help simplify that. And if you're going to focus anywhere, try to focus technology in the US first and foremost, and try to bring down the cost of transaction so that we're not doing ACH with zero visibility. We're not doing bank wires with zero visibility. Try to create a scenario where we're not paying 3.5% on credit cards. If you're going to have that backbone technology, find a way to do that and then create a killer ass app to make that happen. Even if it's B2C and it's taught, you're going to create some sort of a hardware, but who wants that? I don't want to spend my crypto in a store. I don't think it's necessary. I don't need the taxable event.
Are you
I
sure?
don't need a taxable event. Do you want a taxable event every time you buy something? That, people don't realize that that's what's going to happen. That makes zero sense. You're going to have to track every one of those transactions, and it's not going to be a net
I love
positive
taxable
for you.
events.
Right, exactly.
Said no one
we have
ever.
credit cards. If you're going to go, we have credit cards. We don't need anything else. But there are people out there that don't have access to credit card. They, so maybe there's a path out there, but it's just, I think there's more. They need more fat, substance, muscle to what they're
Yeah, I agree with
proposing,
that. XRP Plumber, thank you for that. Really appreciate you guys and the support. Again, it helps keep the lights on here around the OTC studios because we got our podcasting software. We got this, we got that. Do you love unrealized
gains?
Yeah, I love that too. I don't see what's not to love about that.
Yeah, everybody supports unrealized tax on unrealized gains. We love
so
unrealized gains that really don't mean anything.
Here's one here. My uncle would say before investing, ask yourself what's the moat around a company or investment, like what's unique about it, right? Mr. Bullish, Mr. K, having a chain that's open to development and the ability to implement changes means that the XRPL has the legs to start like a window and end up like a cloud. Interoperable system becomes seamless. Good observation. Monty GCC, that rolls. Just get rid of the GCC, Monty. Can we just call you money? What
money?
Let's call you money. Of course, they didn't get into cross-border, but hey, JPM, Bank of America, we're going to decapitalize your Nostra Vostra accounts. JPM and Bank of America, hold my beer. Hey, Gary. Says a lot right there. And look who JPM coin, look who they're using. They're like, oh, yeah, we have our own solution. We don't need you. Bank of America, we don't need you. Nobody needs you
anymore.
Listen, when you threaten the banks have, just like Chuck Schumer said, 10 ways till Sunday to get back at you.
They find a way. Here's Moto. I know emotion should influence investment.
Hello, Moto.
He meant to say shouldn't influence investment, but Ripple supporting Kamala, some of the key players at Ripple supporting Kamala is making me think twice about my life choices. I partially agree. I put up a post. I get it, and we'll dig into this, in a little bit, even though we don't have a huge amount of time, but, we need to talk about, what that really represents when you have leadership within a company supporting a candidate that directly supports Marxist ideology. That just doesn't make sense.
Jeff, when you're a billionaire, it's everything. Who cares? Like the world could be burning down around you and you're insulated. Like people could be like your world is very different than another world. So you can live in an idealistic thinking everything's great and oh my God, this is so fun. So you're gonna dream a lot about how you think it looks because you're insulated.
Yep. So there's some really good comments, pouring in right now. But this one from Moneybags, i.e. Ford wires manufacturers in China for production parts. Deutsche Bank acts as the correspondent bank. Hey, Deutsche Bank has never been caught up in fraud before.
No, never. We never heard their name ever mentioned.
Ever. The correspondent bank remitting the wire, creating latency in the banking system. XRP cuts out the middleman. They do. But the banks don't necessarily want that because there's also money being made in the process. So the banks don't want it. They prefer to use the correspondent banks because at some point the corporation doesn't want it. afford, but they also want the security knowing that their process will work. So you use you use your bank feeling safe and secure about it. The banks will have to adopt the backbone to simplify and reduce the cost, but these intermediary correspondent banks are making money along the way, even if it's smaller numbers. But Matt LaRoche says, buy gold, tokenize, have on blockchain with a Visa card attached, collect tiny fees at POS, go into market, buy wholesale gold, and sprinkle yields on participant gold holdings. That sounds great. I like the sprinkling. It uses kind of like a food, makes it real appealing and appetizing because you're going to sprinkle gold dust.
Yeah, sprinkle it on your ice cream. But here we have here's Sui, right? So scalable infrastructure that's incredibly fast, secure, and affordable. Look at the transaction speed. Less than 400 milliseconds, okay, on average. That's not 4 to 6 seconds. That's less than 4 to 100 milliseconds, because less than 1 second. 297,000 transactions per second. Sorry, man, somebody built a better mousetrap. There it is. 297,000 transactions per second. What is the XRPL? Time to finality. This is incredible, right?
Yeah.
So, this is, and you can see why it's going somewhere, right? I mean, you can see what's, we're gonna have a special guest to come on here and talk about this, who knows a lot more about it than us. But again,
we got to talk about this.
Yeah, and I want to give this is incredible. I mean, I just think it's incredible, Jeff. This, it's, what is it sitting at, 80 cents, something like that right now, somewhere around that. I don't know what it's sitting at 100%. But
it's another one. I don't want to spend gold. I don't understand people's attraction to wanting to spend digital asset in gold. A credit card there's a purpose of the credit card. You're using somebody else's money for a period of time that isn't coming out of your capital. You're holding your capital. If you use a debit card, you're using your money directly. If you use a credit card, you're getting a period of time, whatever those days are, a 30-day window where you're not using your own capital to do anything. You have to pay it off. Don't get into a point where your credit card is then gaining interest. But if you pay it off within that period, you're using somebody else's liquidity in order to buy things. So why wouldn't you want to leverage that? Why would you want to take your dollar out of your pocket today, or reduce your crypto holdings, or reduce your gold holdings when you have that flux? I mean, that's the only point of the credit card or the charge card or whatever it's going to be. You don't want to automatically debit your account. It gives you more control over the purchase as well. So if you have to recall that purchase for whatever reason, you're not fighting to get your capital back, and you don't have to worry about that trust scenario. Now, on the flip side of it, if you're using, some of these services as a seller, they're going to pull that money from you as well, right? So, but then it has to go into an intermediary holder. So
nope.
No, we did not. No,
nothing. I just checked again. Zippo. This is last August we requested it. Nothing.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have any anticipation that anything's going to change there, but I may have to ping some folks. But I just want us to thank you. Shout out to Minus Wells, because he's the one who is the one who took that video and was at the event. So thank you for that. That's the Brad Garlinghouse, and also the David Schwartz that we were playing. So thank you for that. Really appreciate that.
Ripple siding with Kamala is like the cult members asking Jim Jones to make them a drink.
Well, what I'm surprised about this whole thing, what I'm absolutely shocked about is, like, when did you wake up and realize that Ripple was a leftist leaning company? Was it when they were shoving CBDCs down everyone's throat? Was it when they were getting asked questions like, hey, is it programmable? I mean, what's the point of that? Like, do you think about if we have stable coins, a CBDC, like, what do you need a CBDC? Almost everything right now is, if you think about money supply, you couldn't get the USD. If you try to do a bank run today, if everybody went to the bank and got $500 out, you'd probably collapse a particular bank if everybody went there. And this happened. We've already seen this happen before. So I don't understand where everyone's just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Well, when did you wake up? Was it when Chris Larson paid for cameras to be installed in downtown San Francisco a couple of years ago? You can pull up that story. Is that the one? Was it in 2020 when he donated $50,000 to Biden's campaign? Did that not wake you up? I'm like, what part of this don't you understand? Is it every government official they've ever hired was only came from the Democrat Party? This is a company that's focused on leftist. There's nothing new about it, but it's the same way when I go see a band, right? We might not share the same political view. Like I've seen U2 a bunch of times. I've seen a lot of the bands. Look, I don't want to hear them doing their politics at their show. I look at it for the music, and some of the music is whatever, but I want to listen. I like the music. Okay, so I'm going to differentiate about the tech from the people. Okay, and I don't like CBDCs. Jeff doesn't like them. We're against them. You can see Congress, people speaking out like, Warren Davidson, Tom Emmer, like, no, not over our dead bodies. It's going to happen. But if you want to do that, sell that leftist garbage to France, listen, France will cut the people out from underneath faster than you can say hello. In the UK, if they're throwing you in jails for a meme, oh man, the CBDCs they're going to cancel the hell out of you. Oh, let's see, you said something to your neighbor we didn't like. You're canceled. So this cancel culture and everything else, listen, we don't believe in it. The tech is good. So you got to differentiate. Uphold went through that too. Okay, you had JP Terry that came out and said, hey, I want to support Kamala Harris. Great. We should live in a world where people get the freedom to support who they want to support. Okay. There's no, Jeff and I aren't shy about the fact that, we're on the right side, right? Get it, Jeff? The right side. We lean right. We're right. We're not shy about saying we're big Trump supporters. It's none of that. But I think that people have to have the freedom to be, let's not be those same people. If somebody wants to support, I'm pulling off, I saw it on my XRP. I'm getting off Uphold. Let's screw this. I'm not, well, I happen to like Uphold. So people complain their fees are too high. I happen to like the platform a lot. I happen to have a lot of respect for a company that didn't bend the knee to the SEC and never stopped selling XRP throughout this whole trial. I have a lot of respect for that. Do I agree politically with some of the things? I don't have to agree politically. I want to make sure the tech is solid, right? I want to make sure that it's a good platform and they have good available, cryptocurrency that I want to invest in. I mean, that's not the only platform I use, but I'm just saying we have to we're not going to just let's not be what we hate. Let's not be those cancel people. Listen, if Larson believes heavily, I'd like to have Larson on here. Jeff and I were saying in a couple of posts on X, like, you know what? Love to get Chris Larson on here. Like, tell us. And it would be a respectful interview. Like, hey, tell us exactly what policies you support and how do you see those policies? Like, name one policy, okay? Because the policies that I see are like, $6,000 tax credit. Okay. Well, JD Vance, a couple weeks before that, introduced the $5,000 tax credit. Now it's $6,000. And then, the $35 for the diabetes, insulin, right? That was canceled on day one when Biden came in, and then the year later they introduced it as their own. I'm like, look, if you're not going to have an original idea, you deserve to be called out for it. But when you're talking about taxing unrealized gains, well, can we also file on our taxes unrealized losses, right? So I bought a token at $1 and it's now at 70 cents. Okay, great. I'll take that 30% loss and I'm going to file that. Right. It's an unrealized loss. Now, I mean, when Mark Cuban comes out and says this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, it's going to destroy the stock market. Just destroy.
But yet, who's he supporting?
Another billionaire who's supporting it. But I look at people like Ackman who really were on the left. I look at people, a lot of the great minds of the Silicon Valley that have come up. I wanted to play this clip, Jeff, because I think this. Yeah, a lot of people have woken up, and I kind of like that. Okay, so Naval Ravikant, who I follow and find this guy to be a really somebody offers really great perspectives. I followed him for a number of years, but I wanted to play this one little. Oh, if I can get the right buttons.
Hey,
Jeff, I don't know.
This is a great comment right here from Vitruvian. The people have forgotten that we can disagree about something, but still be cordial and respectful of someone else's opinion.
That's exactly right.
And we can, and you can't just have the one-sided opinion and then all of a sudden 100% spot on. I like that comment.
That's a
And that's
great
why we have
comment.
such, we have people from all sides here, and people have to put up with what we say, and we'll put up with what you say, and and it's out of respect, and you get to learn stuff from each other. That's the whole point.
A new tax on not making your quota of spending and debt. There you go. It seems perfectly reasonable to a nut job. I mean, anyway. But I wanted to play this. Let's listen to this because I listened to this and you think in terms of Larson when you listen to this, right? So
honestly, it was the lawfare that kind of brought me off the sidelines. It's really
so I guess the question before this is like, what brought you off the sidelines, right? And
Right.
kind of like what got you like pumped, right? And it's interesting to hear from his perspective how he talks about it.
disgusting behavior, because this is how you descend into a complete banana republic with military coups and military rule. The moment you can start weaponizing the law against your enemies selectively, that's the beginning of the end. There was a famous dictator who said something like, for my friends, anything. For my enemies, the law, right? And what he meant by that is once you're in charge and you get to dictate who the law applies to, you're in a very slippery slope. And slippery slopes are real, by the way, as we know. As a clear example, if you were to actually look at the charges that were brought against Trump, and I actually read them quite carefully. I mean, these were really trumped up. They were really made up. You violated the statute of limitations. You tried to drum things up into a felony when there was no evidence of such. It was a miscategorization of business expenses. When you have complex business dealings like I do and like many people do, you can always find something. So it's this selective prosecution. It's a selective persecution that allows them to get away with this. And a lot of the progressive DA movement that comes out of George Soros and others is based on this understanding that, hey, actually, we can choose whether or not to prosecute certain people. And these are elected offices that are, that either are in territory where the voters are really favorable to us, or they're really cheap to run because there's no organized opposition. So let's just organize and take over prosecution. That's what happened in San Francisco. If you want the case against Kamala Harris, it's the fact that she was DA at San Francisco, and San Francisco is a mess. And in fact, afterwards, she advocated for George Gascon, who's the guy who's destroying LA, through basically not prosecuting criminals and going after business owners. So this selective prosecution thing is a disaster. You can take a deep blue or deep red state. You can take a deep blue or deep red jury. You can basically creatively interpret these infinite laws that we have to find anybody guilty of a crime. Like I think there's that other famous saying, like, you find me the man and I'll find you the crime, or give me 6 sentences written by any honest man and I will find the crime. So you can always find a crime that somebody is guilty of violating. So the moment you start breaking down this wall and you get into weaponizing justice, Hillary Clinton blew up her email server wiped it with bleach bit. There was no consequences from that. Turns out the Hunter Biden laptop was real. Who knew, right? Even though we were told it was all misinformation by the intelligence agencies. This is the scary stuff. This is the stuff that ends a republic or turns into a one-party state, better known as a dictatorship. China is a one-party state. North Korea is a one-party state. So I don't use the words one-party state lightly. But I think the weaponization of the justice system, the engagement, willingness to go into lawfare, that is the thing that will lead to violence. That is the thing that will lead to a dissolution and a breakup and something worse in the United States. So I think when these guys start playing with going after their political enemies, when Alvin Bragg runs on the explicit campaign to take down Trump, and then they go hunting through and looking for anything and drumming up any charge and go after him in the most favorable juries in the most favorable part of the country, and then just control the evidence and control the narrative, that is the beginning of the end. And the people who in Silicon Valley and the donors who are out there supporting this lawfare, they're dead to me. I mean, these people are just...
So him and Chris Larson aren't talking anymore, apparently. Jeff, I mean...
But you know what? We're in a... You can be cordial to a certain point, especially when it comes to, you get to a point where we know that we're fighting now for survival of this country. You still have to be cordial. But to his point, it's like, how can you now continue to respect somebody that, has directly been impacted, right, by what's been going on? $200 million in legal fees, 4 years, price suppression, everything that Gary Gensler, everything the administration across the board against your industry, right? Against the very industry that you're building in.
Yeah, but
Why would you then make a determination
Okay.
whether it's a chess match or whatever it is? But to his point, he's like, how can you guys continue to support this indoctrination? Are they one voter? What are they supporting at that point, and
But
why?
on the flip side,
That's
Jeff,
the big question.
on the flip side, Larson personally donated the max for the primary, primary and for the general to John Deaton. Okay.
Right.
Ripple donated $1 million to the super PAC of John Deaton, right? Ripple was one of the 3 big contributors to the Fair Shake super PAC, which is supposed to be nonpartisan, which is a total leftist partisan hack job. As soon as John Deaton won, I said, okay, Fair Shake, here you go. You supported Shift in a primary. He had no chance, $10 million in a primary, and you've got the one anti-crypto crusader and Elizabeth Warren, and they're fighting these little battles around the country, trying to pretend like we're sprinkling the money to it's all heavily Democrat, and that's BS. Okay, so next thing I'm gonna start hitting up is Ripple. Is like, how do you guys like that? It's supposed to be a nonpartisan organization, yet they're 90% partisan to Democrats. And even though they're saying, well, 6 Republicans here and 6 there, but they're not funding them the same. Okay, and the funding's not the same. So to me, it's a disconnect, right? And I think what Naval is talking about here is spot on. And when he says, like, you're dead to me, let's listen to the rest of it.
The ground on which they stand. Do they think they won't be next? I mean, these people are just doing this lawfare. They're dead to me. I mean, these people are destroying the ground on which they stand. Do they think they won't be next? When you destroy the institutions of fairness and merit, eventually you're the ones who get thrown up against the wall. But that's what it does. It creates this revenge fantasy, right? Now you want to get
that's the only way they're going to learn.
It's going to be a sad state of affairs.
Your quotes reminded me of this guy we know we believe is somewhat of a connected guy. And he has this saying, which I think could be Kamala Harris's campaign slogan, depending on who she's talking to. I'll do anything for you and anything to you. It's very scary.
It's mobster behavior, right? It's like the ends justify the means for these people. It's like, well, this is the thing about religions, and Marxism is a religious movement. And so Alvin Bragg, I don't think is coordinated necessarily by the DOJ, although there's a little bit of evidence of that. But I think it's much more that just when you take a religion and you spread it and you get these fervent adherents, these true believers. And, like I said, like when I was young, I was growing up under the Christian right, and now I'm growing up against the Marxist left, but they have their own religions. When you have these religious fanatics, you get decentralized enforcement of the religion, and each one is trying to outdo the next one to show how much of a true believer they are. So the Alvin Braggs of the world are going to get scalps, and they're going to get feathers in their cap. They're going to get, they're going to become famous, and they're going to become lots of people cheering.
And Laura Loomer's the one that tracked all the payments to Judge Merchan's daughter that was distributing the money back to. So there's payoffs that are happening. Like, it's clear, like, it's such a vicious sort of a world. And Naval even pushes back when she says, well, that's the only way they're going to learn. Yeah. And it's like, so you did this to me and I'm going to do this to you, and and now we're going to throw you in jail. That's not how to do it, because Trump was recently asked, why didn't you lock Hillary Clinton up? Why didn't you go after him? Why didn't the Justice Department go after him? He said, I thought it was a bad look to throw an ex-president's wife in jail. I thought it set a bad precedent, right? So he was saying that it just wasn't a good look. It didn't seem like the right thing. And what did they do? Well, they don't care. They just come after Trump. Listen, so the next big thing they're going to do is, when he does win, they're going to find every way. They're trying to leverage the 14th Amendment to say that he won't be able to then serve. He can't serve. And they're going to do some other mockery where they put a bunch of plants in there again. Now, the difference this time is Nancy Pelosi is no longer the speaker. The new speaker can have all the guard there when it comes time in January to certify. We've seen in states like Michigan, that's a deep blue state, that said that passed a statute that says you cannot question anything about any election. This is, you want to talk about Marxist principles. I mean, you want to talk about a banana republic. We're there, right? So that's completely unconstitutional. That everybody should be able, either side, you should be able to question it. And if you're the side that won and say, great, we're open and book, here's everything, here are all the ballots, here are all the things, not have lawsuits and lawyers and lock stuff up and machines are missing and data goes missing. Yep, Naval Ravikant, that's him. Really amazing dude. He's at Naval, just at Naval on X, and he is someone you want to follow because I love his perspective on both, on so many things here.
And he's done a lot. He's the CEO of Angel List. He's invested early stage in companies like Uber, Foursquare, Twitter, Wish.com, Poshmark, Postmates, Thumbstack, Notion, SnapLogic, Open Door, Clubhouse, Stack Overflow, Bolt, OpenDNS, etc. So there's lots and lots of companies that he invested in over time. He's a podcaster as well, but he's been around.
Yeah, he hasn't put up anything recently, but I mean, he's really active on X. So I would, he always puts up a lot of good stuff, and that, he's a good dude. I really enjoy him. Now it was funny because this is weird because we recently saw Trump was on Lex Friedman, and I don't know, man. Like, dude, I can't stay awake for Lex. I've tried to watch some guests that I care about. I tried to watch the Trump interview, and I was like, dude, this guy, can you give him some pills to wake him up? Hi, so tell me what about, I mean, he's so dry, dude. It's hard to watch. And I'm like, this guy's got 4 million. God bless him. But, dude, I cannot watch I can't listen to the podcast. I can't get past it. It's just, it's a tough thing. And one of the things that Trump said in one of the interviews was Barrett. What's his name? But what's his youngest kid's name? Barron, yeah, Barron. Barron was saying that he's getting Trump on all these podcasts because Trump never did podcasts like this, but they're free form and there's no like, oh, these are the official questions you can ask us. No, you ask him whatever you want to ask him, but who can do that? Who can do a free form? And when Trump was at the economic club over there in New York, Charlie Gasparino was putting a lot of posts on X about it. We heard the left was like, he's nonsense. This doesn't make any sense. This tariff thing is stupid. We had tariffs. I mean, how do you think the government was funded before they created the central bank, before the Federal Reserve? How do you think the government was funded before they instituted the IRS? And the IRS doesn't even fund the government. So how do you think things worked? Go back and read the Federalist Papers. I mean, people, do a little bit of research. You got to look beyond your hand. And this is what I think where somebody put up a really good video where they said, one of the key differences, like, you're calling us a cult. You guys eat like pablum, everything that is given to you. Oh, that's okay. Okay. You got a couple of influencers who are paid. This latest crackdown, like it's pretty, like Benny Johnson and Tim Pool, they were given $100,000. They were made part of this conglomerate. This company was going to license their content. And then they were given $100,000 a week. They signed a contract. Oh, and lo and behold, right around election time, that was a Russian asset, and that company was tied back to Russia. And all the money was coming from Russia. And so this whole, like, this setup, I mean, it should have smelled that a mile away. You're going to pay me $100,000 a week. Jeff, someone comes to us and says you want to pay $100,000 a week for your content. And let's suppose we got a big audience. It sounds a little bit, okay, so how does that work exactly? So you had all these conservatives that now the left going, oh, they were Russian assets. You see, they're working for Russia. It's the Russia story.
They're trying to resurrect it all over again, and that's where we already went through this. We played this narrative. It was proven to be false. Now they want to resurrect it again. They're playing with fire. Yep. The whole narrative with the Russia hoax, they were playing with fire from the beginning. Back in 2015, they ramped up the rhetoric. They created tension where it didn't belong. They shouldn't have gone after Russia. They purposely did it to see further outcome, like we see right now. They try to make them, granted, Russia's always been behind the scenes trying to pull strings. Russia was already weak pre-Obama era. Obama brought and resurrected Russia onto the global stage again. And now even more so with the price of oil, Russia's tied heavily to the barrel and, at their financial stability. And so as are some of the other countries, and just some of the things that happened, they pushed them to center stage. They turned them into, they had to have a focal point enemy, which is, it's just shocking that they're willing to play with that kind of fire. and go after a country as a political strategy. And now we have a nuclear enemy out there that has, lost all confidence, and they have no idea what, the possibilities can come of this administration. Then you have the administration pouring billions and billions and billions of dollars over into Ukraine, and continuously feeding some sort of a conflict with no end in sight. It just makes no sense that they want to do that. From a security perspective, other than they're trying to manage and grab power, and that's where things become very dangerous overall on this stage. Whereas Trump uh, wanted to calm things down. He had successfully created a scenario within the Middle East that the different parties were coming together. The Democrats came in, undid that immediately because they saw the direction the Saudis were going in. They saw with the UAE, there was acceptance in the region. They were starting to join modern time in terms of development over there and bringing more Western type value into an Islamist region. A lot of it following what happened over in Dubai and their mindset, but also the acceptance with Israel and the neighbors, and everyone was coming together. The one thing that they saw as a divisive division point is what we saw unfold after October 7th, which is the terrorist element of the Islamists, and you had Hamas, and then you have this Palestinian movement that wants to displace and destroy Israel, and it has a lot of backing of anti-Semitism and the incorrect assumption that somehow Zionism is some this global phenomena of world conquest, which makes no sense. It's stemmed from irrational thought process, and it's been proven time and time again. There's Christian Zionists, there's Jewish Zionists. I'm a Zionist. I believe in Jews' right to self-fulfillment and their right to a state of Israel and to defend that state. And there's nothing wrong. That's what Zionism is. It is to see Israel exist. And there's nothing wrong with that, where you have Islamists all over the region that want to destroy them and kill the Jews. Now, that makes no sense. Now, Israel is holy to Jews and to Christians. The Islamists don't want Jews or Christians in that region. And this is, part of the issue. The Democrats oppose that. They want to destabilize the region because, again, for them to continuously promote, a destabilized region gives them something to fight for. And they look for these small groups to try to represent them. And they're like, look, we're the ones helping to support you and represent you. But they're the ones that created the problem to begin with. And this is now it's even worse. It's even crazier.
Jeff, it's like everywhere I look today, it's like it's like the seasons pass. Like so for a while, it's like onslaught of Christians are open season. Let's go out to the Christians. And now I see everywhere on X is like any problem in the world, it's the Jews' fault. It's like, and look at this person, and they're Jewish, and look at this person. So it's the same thing they've always talking about. It's this selective reasoning where you say, look at this and then look at that, and then all of this is like, to me, it's just not a good look, and it doesn't make any sense. It's just pathetic in the long run.
Well, the crazy thing is that these same people that keep pushing this kind of narrative accept the Islamist narrative without any issue. They immediately adopt whatever the Islamist
same as the news,
same as the news, and they're not looking around the world as Islamists are moving into all Western countries at a rapid pace right now. That's why we're seeing the problems in the UK. We're seeing problems in France. We're seeing problems in Sweden. We're seeing problems in parts of the US. It all comes from the Islamist conquest of the world, and people need to realize exactly where the problems are. And where they lie. And that's the problem, is that if you continue to support, and that's where I look at it, you have to bring in geopolitics into finance, because if you don't have geopolitics in finance and you don't understand the geopolitics of it, how do you understand the finance of it, especially on a global stage? Yeah. There's always politics involved in it, whether someone wants to create a good developing program, or they want to break it down. So Trump believed in a doctrine of let's bring everyone together and build up for financial gain for everybody. The Democrats are doing the exact opposite. They want to destabilize regions so that they can control and manipulate, which is what the UN, the United Nations, has done for many, many years throughout Africa and other parts of the world. They do everything from a power perspective, never to help.
Well, the Abraham Accords, Jeff. I mean, you talk about thousands of years not been peace in the region. The Abraham Accords come along, and even like a little bit to the left had to bend the knee a little bit to say, like, you know what? Look, this is a good thing. And so why would we be sending an enormous amount of money to Iran? Like, why would we fund any of these terrorist states to begin with? We saw Obama send the pallets there. We saw Biden send the pallets there. And when did the Democrats slowly made the move? You used to have the neocons who were like heavily weighted in the Republican Party. And now you seem to see that all the people, what we call rhinos, Republican in name only, you see all of these rhinos. Oh no, we're supporting Kamala. Oh no, we worked in the Bush administration, and we worked in and Romney's staffers. We're all supporting. Well, that there's no big mistake about that. You've always been like that. Rhino is just another way for a lefty, right? You have your principles that lean left, and that's why you're a Republican in name only, because you're not a true Republican. And I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent. I have been, because most Republicans. But Jeff, I want to play this contrast here. I want to play Chuck Schumer talking about illegals, and then I want to play this new ad that came out from Trump that addresses that.
Only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
Okay. Now let's watch this ad that just came out, Trump ad.
Are undocumented immigrants that are the least likely to commit a crime.
Police report as many as 75% of the people they've arrested in Midtown Manhattan for assault, robbery, and domestic violence are illegal migrants.
Police have tracked down a killer whose crimes span the country. Rachel Marin was dragged from a hiking trail in Maryland where she was raped and murdered.
Police say Brandon Ortiz Vite used a handgun he bought illegally to shoot Ruby Garcia multiple times on Friday.
The prime suspect charged in Laken Riley's murder was 26-year-old Jose Antonio Ibarra. He illegally entered the United States back in 2022.
A Texas grand jury indicted Rafael Govea Romero. He's accused of attacking 16-year-old Lisbeth Medina by repeatedly hitting her head and stabbing her.
So let's get our notions together about what we're talking about.
There you have it. What do you think of that?
But that's powerful. I mean, that's a good contrast. And the problem that people fall in, and this is again why you have to really understand the nuance of the politics of it, because you have to support your nest egg. You have to support the technology that you appreciate, the financial investments that you appreciate. You want them to keep growing. You want to have that availability. But when you understand the nuance, especially when you look at that ad, they mislabel things and the terminology. So they talk about immigrants and immigration, but everybody's in favor of immigrant and immigration in this country, because that's what we were built on, was immigration. And then they try to take that label of immigration and they give it to the illegal in this country. Now, you have people that have been here for 10, 15, 20, 30 years that have grown up their entire lives here. They belong here. They believe that they belong here. They're part of society. They're Americans. Everything. They just happen. Their families came in here illegally, and the kids were raised. So there has to be a path to citizenship for individuals like that, only because this is their country. There was a guy who came in, been here, served in the military, did all this stuff here. Apparently, there was a whole article written about him that somehow he wasn't actually a citizen. And he found out when he was applying for Social Security, and he grew up his entire life here. Now that's a distinction. So you say, okay, here's this scenario. Then you have over the past, 3-4 years, this mass migration of illegals into this country. They came here not, and you have to do something. You can't have what they're advocating is just turn them all into citizens, because they did that on purpose. They brought them here purposely to destabilize the region. That's exactly what they wanted, for them to vote Democrat.
Jim D, knock, knock. Hello, sir. We are your government, and we're here to help you. Yeah, the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. Right on. Well said. Well referenced there, Jim D. And then we have Bob Moneybags. Just because you do not take an interest in politics does not mean politics won't take an interest in you. Yeah, and people that say like, oh, I'm going to remain neutral. Well, that's your choice, right? You can choose to be neutral, which means you don't care, or you can choose to not pick a side. It's like you can be, Switzerland was like, oh, we're neutral. Yeah, when the Nazis marched through, how'd that work out for you, right? So you have to, if you don't want to take a side, that's what it is. I know Money's putting something in there, but I can't get to it. I can't get to that. So unfortunately here we can't see the, yeah, always love Money's insights. There you go. Politics definition.
Concerns public perception. So it's really, you can't be neutral on a battlefield. That's definitely for sure. It doesn't work that way. Here you have mass migration as being kind. Maduro's emptying his prisons and crazy people wards, sending them to the U.S. And that is happening. We know that's happening, not just from Venezuela, but from other parts of the world. That has been happening. And you're having people come here, looking for, as sanctuary. But you can't have individuals. You can't even vet the individuals coming here. It isn't possible. And that is like, hey, just vet them. That criminals are not coming in. So most of these people coming in are also burning their IDs. So if they're coming from China or wherever they're coming from, they're getting rid of their identification. You have no idea who these individuals are coming across, and there's no way to even vet them. This is why, and it's not a perfect system, but when you come here legally, you have to apply. You have to go through a process. There has to be in many cases, a sponsor. There's a program and a way to bring people here through legal immigration. People waited in line for years to go through this process, and it's not easy. And even when they're here, there's a lot that has to be done. So that is the way it's been. It's not perfect, but that's how it's been. Now you can't all of a sudden say, hey, we're going to bring this 10 million illegals into this country without vetting them. We have no idea who they are.
Right.
We're going to say, and we're not having a brain drain coming from those countries here. We're having a criminal drain, or we're having people that come here that are looking to take. They're not looking to contribute. Now, in that mix, there are people that are joining those thousands of people that come in here, and they're looking for a better life. But I would say that's potentially, it might be a minority. I don't know. It might be 50-50. It might be a majority. It might not. The point, you can't come here and the first thing you do in this country is commit a crime, which is coming into this country illegally.
Well, the problem is you got great people waiting forever. I mean, I've heard crazy stories, friends of ours that, they waited 5 years. They spent a lot of money, and they were leaving Venezuela. It was, a lot of oppression and stuff. And why would you let people that are going to come here and contribute and want to be part of America, for people that come in here have very zero respect for the culture, for anything, and just want to come in and, you can say what you want to say about Bukele, but he empties his prisons and sent them up here. A lot of them got emptied, right? He put all the gang members in there, but you had to make room for them too. He built some new facilities. A lot of these prisons in Venezuela, they got emptied. Guess where they ended up? Okay, so all of these people, so the bad actors are here, and I would think something's going to go down. And what's interesting, what I wanted to bring up the point about Governor Newsom. Now, he just vetoed a bill that would have granted, it was passed by the California House and Senate, that would give illegals $125,000 to buy a house. There was a lot of outrage about it, and people are like, oh, finally the people. No, I don't think that was it. I think that in this political climate, and because there's an election season, you want to have the appearance of coming to the center and being rational. It's what happens around election season. I'm still not convinced that Kamala Harris is the one. I just don't. first of all, the polls are dreadful. 38. That famous leftist polling has Trump up like by incredible 30%. Right.
yeah.
538 it's called, right? 538 polls are devastating. The internal polls have got to be even worse. Look at how many people come to our rally, paid actors. Look at how, same thing as Biden. Don't get in front of a camera. I love when you're like trying to get on the phone and you got your wired ear plugs in and you have the phone up next to your ear. So which is it? Are you listening on the phone? I mean, come on, you're not even a good actress at this point. You're like, oh, I'm so busy and important. I got to get on this plane. And you got the phone up to one ear. It's not even on, right? It's got the black screen. And then on top of it, you got your wired headphones. It's just, look, you can dupe people for some of the time, but man, people are waking up on a daily basis and they're like, this doesn't make sense. And then you look at the small business. When you're running for president and you go back to your prosecutor days and Naval takes that prosecutor stuff apart, you're going back before you were a senator. Didn't have a record to run on. VP for almost 4 years, no record to run on. And you're telling us you were a prosecutor. So you've got 8+ years of nothing's happened, and you have no record at all. So this, I mean, should anybody be alarmed or troubled or like just some critical thinking? They're like, that's odd. What have you done? And when you're touting the $35 diabetes, insulin that Trump put forth, and you're touting your $6,000 tax plan that, well, JD Vance came out with the 5,000 and we'll one up at one. Like, it's getting ridiculous. And now you're a supporter of the border wall when you've got, I mean, there's so much, clips of you and on your Twitter, your X account of you saying, oh no, that this is dumb, it's a horrible idea. Now, oh, wink, yeah, we support the border wall. And then that bill that allowed 5,000 to 10,000 daily illegals in, they're like, that was the border bill that the Democrats keep telling us about. Although Republicans try to block it, and Trump came in and he wanted to block it. Well, no, if you actually read the bill and you see that there's 5,000 plus per day, and there really was no cap. And if it got over 10,000, and then Biden or the president had the executive authority to kind of like remove that, it wasn't a border bill at all. It was called a border bill, but it had nothing to do with protecting or ensuring the border. It had nothing to do with finishing the border wall. It was all an appearance of, we want to pass a border bill. But they stymied the Republicans one that did close the border down. They're like, oh, they don't want to have anything to do that, and they all voted against it. So this is what you have to do in politics. You got to spend time. If you're going to go with the bills, are hard to read sometimes, and they're packed with garbage. Thank God for ChatGPT. A lot of times you can put one of these giant bills in there and just start asking it questions. You can write a GPT that says, here's the thing. You can upload it. You can use 4.0 ChatGPT and say, tell me, put this into layman's terms, and give me a summary paragraph and then bullet point everything that's important in this bill. And it will, it won't get it right 100% of the time, but it'll make it easier to understand. But nobody takes the time to do this, Jeff.
They don't want to. Nobody wants to look at it. They have nothing.
Jeff, we've never had a comment this long.
I know, exactly.
I was like, I'll take up the whole screen, Jeff.
Alchemist says, I just hope XRP is the NWO coin.
Buy Bitcoin. Look at the size of this thing right here. Venezuela was okay before U.S. sanctions, and the sanctions only started when Chavez nationalized the oil. Before nationalization, foreign U.S. entities and the core oil was taken. 70% of Venezuela's oil process. The U.S. is at fault here because they know that the refineries in the U.S. owned by the Koch brothers can only process heavy oil from Canada and Venezuela, and so they only sanction the country. They want to profit off their own resources. It's all dirty. Yeah, some of that's dirty. Everything is dirty.
But there was more to the whole Venezuelan situation than that. The government, when Chavez came in, he came in and basically took over government, changed the constitution, created a scenario where he was, an elected dictator, basically, that couldn't be unseated. And they created an environment with Chavez, with Marxist ideology, to where he started undermining businesses, undermining grocery stores, undermining the banking infrastructure, undermining anyone who owned a business or created wealth in that environment. I know quite a few people from Venezuela that survived that period of time and then fled. And then when Chavez basically appointed Maduro, who was a bus driver, had no other specific involvement. He kind of groomed him and put him in the forefront to take over the legacy of what Chavez. They went from a super wealthy nation that was a major exporter of food product, of beef, of produce, to losing all of that and becoming reliant on that, and seeing their people fleeing, and safety became a major issue under Chavez also. So there might be some element, right, to the manipulation within oil, because oil markets definitely have a lot of play in that, but that country was also extremely wealthy from oil. So they made a huge amount of money off of that. And again, it was a wealthy country. It was a very productive country. And then it went the exact opposite under Chavez and Maduro. And it became extremely unsafe. And that's why South Florida, there's lots of Venezuelans here. And the fortunate ones had already brought their money to this country before the massive 10 million% inflation, whatever it was, where they just lost everything.
My buddy who's listening, he didn't drop. He was texting me these, but he said the Dems want illegals to vote en masse by hook or crook. That's the reason the border's wide open. Definitely have a plan, that's for sure. He said Bukele, I was there and witnessed it. The peace in that country, you can walk anywhere now and walk all over the country. He also mentioned that Real Clear Politics has all the polls daily. And he says that Harris will be given the questions for the next debate, since you can't have notes. And every major network, the producers are all married to someone high up in the Dem party. Fact, right? Good stuff, man. Good stuff. And at that, we gotta get out of here, man. It's getting late. Gotta get out of here, Jeff. So
yes, that's all we got.
Yeah, that border bill, all right, boy. Yeah, that border bill. It had include aid to, like this is why and this is one of the things that I believe what John Deaton's running on. And again, John Deaton is going to run what he thinks is right. And he said, let's have single issues. You pass a border bill, it has border stuff. So this pork stuff that they always put in this stuff, you got to stop doing that. You need, because you go like, you didn't want to. And a lot of times, like, the bill will get killed because it has all this pork in it, and they're like, "Oh, you didn't want to support the children," and it's like make it all about some ridiculous. And usually, whatever the bill's name, it does just the opposite. So if it's the Fight Inflation Act, you can understand that it's going to run up inflation. I mean, almost all of this stuff is just it's pretty much a ruse. But we got to get out of here, guys. It's getting kind of late. We did an hour and a half. We got to get out, and I got things to do and life to live and all that stuff. So
that's it,
guys.
Got to go. We'll be back on tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah,
and we might even have the song play.
Yeah, we have a song. We have a song. We didn't get to it. We'll play it tomorrow. It'll be on the top of we'll get it going. See you guys on the next one. Chip and Jeff out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.